In the 16th century, the Catholic Church faced many accusations of corruption, which led to the creation of Protestantism. Corruption of the Church came in the form of pluralism, which is holding multiple church offices; simony, which is the selling of church offices; absenteeism, where church officials were not present in their meetings and duties; selling indulgences, where Catholics could pay the church to get rid of their sins; poorly educated clergy, who may not be able to write or read very well; and clergy who were involved in immoral acts such as use of concubines, drinking, and gambling. Other factors that led to the Reformation included the Great Schism, because it split the Catholic Church and damaged the prestige of the clergy. Within the Church, many individuals and groups attempted reform. The Brethren of the Common Life is one such group that lived simple lives while carrying out the gospel. The Brethren helped the poor and sick, taught in local schools, and wanted religion to be personal. A religious revival occurred in the Netherlands, Central Germany, and the Rhineland. Pope Julius II brought together an ecumenical council to meet from 1512 to 1517 to discuss ways to improve the Church. The council decided that clerical education was key and that the Pope should make doctrinal reforms. This is Erasmus. He laid the egg that Luther hatched. The people remained faithful to the Church until Martin Luther began the Protestant Reformation. Luther devoted himself to God when he was caught in a thunderstorm. Luther pledged to be a friar if he was saved from the storm. He survived, went to the monastery, and years later wrote the 95 Theses. He posted them on the door at the Church of Wittenberg. The Theses condemned indulgences. Luther's main beliefs about Christianity were that salvation could not be achieved by good works such as indulgences, but faith alone. He said that there was no biblical base for indulgences. Luther then denied the authority of the Pope and the infallibility of the General Council. After Luther burned a letter sent to him by the papacy, Charles V called Luther to appear before the Diet of Worms. Charles V eventually declared Luther an outlaw, but Duke Frederick of Saxony protected him. The Swiss humanist Ulrich Zwingli introduced the Reformation in Switzerland. He believed that Christianity was based on scriptures and God's pure word. The Colloquy of Marburg in 1529 failed to resolve differences between Zwingli and Luther. Lutheran Protestantism was officially created at the Confession of Augsburg in 1530. Luther proposed that faith alone decided salvation, that Scripture alone had authority in the Church, which is called sola scriptura, that the Church is made out of the community of Christians, and that every person has a unique individual calling to serve God. Luther did not propose a hierarchical order in the Church because it was made up of only believers who were all basically on the same playing field. Luther kept only 3 of the 7 Catholic sacraments: baptism, penance, and Eucharist. Within the Eucharist, Luther developed the idea of consubstantiation, where the bread and wine of the Eucharist became Christ through a spiritual change where the Lord is actually present. This process was different from the Catholic substantiation, wherein the bread and wine became the physical body of Jesus, but both were considered an important source of grace for all believers. Luther's beliefs spread quickly due to the new invention of the printing press. Word spread quickly through pamphlets, flyers, and other documents that were available to the public. Also, Luther was a skilled writer and speaker. Additionally, Luther's translation of the New Testament into German made it so that Luther's belief circulated especially among the literate and thoughtful middle classes, and the business classes were drawn because Luther condemned the wealth of the Church. For this reason, they were open to the teachings of Luther. The government as well as the people recognized corruption in the Church. One area of criticism was in sermons, and this was solved in many towns by the creation of preacherships, which often lent themselves to Luther's ideas. Peasants too were drawn to Luther's beliefs, especially the ideas in On Christian Liberty. In this book, Luther wrote that a Christian man is the most free lord of all and subject to none. This belief, along with crop failures, led to peasant revolts in Germany, which started when peasants wrote the 12 Articles to complain about the state of economy and of the church. Though Luther originally sided with the peasants, he withdrew his support the moment that the peasants began to act violently. He supported freedom only in the church. The nobility eventually crushed the revolts, and as a result, their power was increased. Under Luther's ideas, the status of women improved because Luther argued that God valued domesticity, love, and gentleness, all of which were feminine traits. Schools that taught both boys and girls about the Bible were established, and marriage helped eliminate priests' use of concubines, as the women could now become the legal wives of the priests. Luther encouraged women's sexuality, but stuck with the assumption that women belonged in the home. Luther himself married a former nun and stressed the importance of family, which inspired Protestants but enraged Catholics. One example of some Catholics who were enraged by the creation of Protestantism were the Habsburgs. Charles V was king during the Protestant Reformation and doggedly attempted to ban Lutheran teachings. So there you have it. People saw flaws in the Catholic Church, and because of Martin Luther, the Protestant Reformation occurred and spread quickly due to the printing press.